it's Sue. Welcome to Lenormand Lovers STL. Today we're going to work on a 9-card reading called a portrait spread or a box spread. Again, here's my reference that I'm using, The Essential Lenormand by Rana George. Just love this. Everything you need to know is right in this book. Very easy to follow along. So I encourage you to get this. So I'm really excited. So this is a lot of information. So I encourage you to pause the video as often as you need to assimilate things, and don't rush through it. And there's a special form down below in information that is yours. The portrait box spread, it's got a whole spread on here, and you can fill it out as you go along. And it's in a very fancy presentation, but you only need to print this part out. So please, I encourage you to download that before you go further in the video so that you can follow along. So let me share my screen and we'll get started. All righty, so we're going to do the portrait reading or the box spread. And it's basically 9 cards, just like in this picture here. There's 9 cards with another card thrown for clarity. So connecting with your intuition. So this is also called the box spread. It's my favorite reading. It's rich and in-depth, but not as full-blown as the Grand Tableau that uses all 36 cards. So it's full of information with specific answers to your questions. This is a great reading to use when fortune telling for entertainment purposes. When I read for the public, I usually throw this reading because it really covers all your bases. So it's a general reading and it represents the energy of the circumstances surrounding your sitter or the person that you're reading for. You'll get a ton of information. It's also a great starting point for the Grand Tableau because you'll read boxes of 9 within that big 36 cards. All right, so this is what it looks like. So the spread combines 9 cards in multiple ways. There are many different ways to read the spread, and all of them are right. So pick the way that resonates with you. You can make it as simple or as complex as you like. So I use this spread most often when reading for my clients. And when you feel comfortable with this spread, you're usually ready to move on to the Grand Tableau, which uses all 36 cards. So when I read a portrait spread, card E right here in the middle is my focus card. So I can let the card happen organically and let whatever the deck brings up, or I can actually pre-select the focus if I want to read about work or home or health, relationships. If you need more help with focus cards or significators, I ask you to check out the YouTube video I did for that specific topic. So now the columns are read top to bottom, A, D, G, or rows are read left to right, A, B, C. And diagonals usually go from top down, top down. All righty. So the first column with cards A, D, and G usually represent the past. The second column, B, E, and H, usually represent the present. And the third column, C, F, and I, is usually the future, your prediction. And remember, the prediction is based on the current energy of your situation, and you can change that energy at any time by making different choices. Then we go across the rows. So ABC, with this, the first row, usually represents the concerns your sitter might have, what's weighing on their mind. The second row, D, E, and F, is usually about the situation itself and what is being dealt with at the moment. And the third row, G, H, and I, is the undercurrent, what is known and under control. We're going to go through a reading. Now this is the X, and it's about indirect influences. So it's read A, E, I, then C, E, and G. So you do each one, as all of these, as 3-card readings. So if I was to jump back here, each row would be a 3-card reading where you would put A and D together, A being the noun, D being how it modifies it. Then you would put D and G together, D being the noun, and G, how it modifies, and then you would tell a little story. So you do that for each one of these. And again, when you're going across, A and B, A being the noun, B being how it modifies, then B being the noun, C, how it modifies B, and then a little story. So the same thing here on the X. So the thing with the X, though, is you read one X leg and then the other one, and then you kind of blend those together, and that story that you have will give you the theme, the conclusion, and the general atmosphere or vibration of the reading. So there's a lot of information just in that X. Then next is the cross. So again, you'll be reading top down B, E, and H, and then D, E, and F. So again, 3-card reading. So these are the active influences having an unambiguous impact on the sitter and their concerns. So literally black and white, no two ways about it. This is what it is. So it becomes the main focus of the reading. Now, you'll also might want to notice that you really already read these, but not together. So in the very beginning, up here, you read B, E, and H. So you already have that information. You'll just go back and collect it. And then here, you've already read D, E, and F. And again, you'll go back and get that. So that is the cross, direct impact. Then the last is the diamond, which is your summation. So it's connecting the 4 cards around the reading that sum up around the focus card. So B and D, you read that as a 2-card reading, and then D and H as a 2-card reading, and then H and F as a 2-card reading, and then F and B. And you just blend it all together to tell a story. And that becomes the summation of the whole reading. And a lot of times this is very redundant because you've already kind of read all this stuff. But this is the format from Rana George's book. So take a deep breath, and we're going to work through a reading together. Now, I've already thrown cards, but if you want to at this point to throw your own cards and follow along as I talk about it, that works too. But in the meantime, if you haven't already downloaded this box spread, I would encourage you to get it out to walk through it. All right, so the question was, what do I need to know today? I'm just leaving it wide open, and I'm letting the cards bring up what is important organically. So I did not pre-draw a focus card. I let the deck bring that up. So I took a deep breath. I quieted my mind, I got centered, and then I shuffled the cards as I was thinking about this question. What do I need to know today? And I usually read for short windows of time, like a month to 3 months, because, you know, anything past 3 months, you really have so much free will. It just takes one decision to change the trajectory. So I don't read for too long. So I did not select a focus card. And when I was ready, I laid down the card for each space, one for A through I. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I. So this turned out to be a really great reading. And it's really interesting when we go along. So what do I need to know today? I love that the focus card is Fish 34, which is about abundance, resources, wealth, independence, positive change with significant advantages. So it's a great card. And I'm glad that that came up. Now, I was hoping that this reading was going to be all about money just falling in on my head. Didn't turn out to be that, but it definitely turned out to be very positive changes that came up. All right, so let's get started. So what do I need to know today? The first thing I would tell you to do on your sheet here is assign 1 or 2 of your spirit vocabulary words for each card. This is what helps not to be overwhelmed. And a lot of times the spirit word that you've picked might not be right, but it's a starting point. So I went ahead, and this is the spirit vocabulary that I assigned to each card. So for the first card, the whip, I assigned strife and repetition. It can also be anger arguments. It can be working out. It can also be kinky sex. I assure you that did not come up in this reading. So for B, the ring, for me, is commitment, but it can also be a contract or what goes around comes around. Mice, for me, is stress or something that gets smaller, diminishes. The tree is about health or spirituality. The fish is about abundance, also transformation. So that's that positive change. The child is something new or small. The man is the significant male in the reading for the sitter. H was the sun, so success and happiness. And then the lily, a long time or tranquility. So if you want to follow along with my reading, great. But if not, I would pause at this point, think about what you want to ask, shuffle your cards, maybe pre-select a focus card, and then do that exact thing. Get out this form. And for each one of the cards, I want you to assign spirit vocabulary words. And usually that's up here, starting with the columns, past, present, and future. That covers all the cards, and that's where I would start. All right, if you need to pause, go right ahead and do that. But for the rest of us, we're moving on. So now we start the reading. So we're going to read in series of threes. So A and D, so D being, A being the noun and D being what modifies it, and then D and G. So this is what I came up with. So this is about the past. So the whip and the tree is about health being assaulted. Then the man and the tree was the health of a man. And then the story is the man's health is assaulted. So 2 weeks ago, in the past, my dad was admitted to the hospital and he tested positive for COVID-19. He went for pneumonia symptoms, but it turned out it was COVID-19. Let me point out, he's 89 with COPD. So it was really scary. So now we're in the present here, and we have the ring and the fish. So abundant commitment. Then the fish and the sun, success abundantly. So the story here is success through abundant commitment. So dad beat the symptoms and is out of the hospital where he's now in quarantine. So that quarantine is the abundant commitment. He was only supposed to have like 10 days of quarantine, but they put him on 15. So it was definitely abundant commitment. And he's doing very, very well. Now the future is the mice and the child. So small stress, or it could be diminishing stress. And then the lily and the child is tranquility is new, or maybe small tranquility. But the story here is stress with the mice is reduced, which is the small, and gave way to tranquility. So dad is out of the hospital now, but he's in quarantine at the nursing home. And our stress level has dropped way down. So, you know, God love him. He can't hear, he can barely see. And when he was locked up in the hospital, he had nobody there to even find the remote control for him. So there was, on our part, quite a bit of stress. But he's doing really, really well. All right, so that was past, present, and future. So now we're going to get more into the concern, the situation, and the undercurrent. Again, we're going to read this in series of threes. So the first row with cards A, B, and C represent the concerns that your sitter has, weighing heavy on their mind. So the whip and the ring, commitment is repeated. Then the ring and the mice, the repeated commitment still causes some stress. So the quarantine at the nursing home is the continued commitment. And it's not, you know, wonderful. It's a wonderful place and they're good people, but the stress is still there. I called the other day and it was 11 o'clock in the morning. He was still in bed. So let me tell you, that's pretty stressful. So anyway, but it's a great place. Now the next row is about the situation. So we have the tree and the fish, which is abundant health. Then we have fish and the child, small, and now I'm switching the fish meaning for me to transformation. That's that positive changes. So small transformation. So the story is small transformation with health. And that's my father getting better. Now the undercurrent, which is the bottom row, this is what's known and under control. So we have the man and the sun. So successful man or happy man, very, very positive for the man. Then the sun and the lily is long time happiness. Lily can also mean a mature male. So here we have with the story, this is a mature, happy man. And this definitely would describe my dad after his brush with COVID-19. And he's in really good spirits. He's been on lockdown for almost 11 weeks. God love him. So anyway, moving on to the indirect influences. So reading the cards diagonally, we're going to find the indirect influences around the subject and the passive influences they may be having. So reading cards A, E, and I as a 3-card reading, we're going to look at the whip and then the fish. So this is an abundant assault or lots of arguing. And then the fish and the lily, which is a mature senior who's independent. The story is a mature senior is repeatedly assaulted. So the health assaults are the COPD that poor dad has. And just can't seem, you can't really beat that. It's permanent. So then we have the other cross leg. We have cards C, E, and G as a 3-card reading. So we have mice and fish, so abundant stress, and then fish and man, and then the man has a positive change. So the story here, in spite of the abundant stress, the man has a positive change. So he has an excellent prognosis. So the blending of these two together. So the theme is lots of stress related to health. The conclusion is making a recovery. And then the general atmosphere is making positive changes. So actually very, very good. Like I said, I thought this reading was going to be all about money falling on my head, but it's about abundant health, which is fantastic. So now we have the cross for the direct impact. So these are active influences having an unambiguous impact on the sitter and their concerns. So this is where the reading starts to repeat itself. We've already read column B, E, and H, as well as row 2, D, E, and F. So I just pulled those forward for the main focus. So the ring and fish was abundant commitment. Fish and sun was success abundantly. And then the story was success through abundant commitment. So dad beating the symptoms and being out of the hospital. And then going across, the tree and the fish, abundant health. Fish and the child, small transformation. And then the story, small transformation with health. So the main focus is health being assaulted that resulted in quarantine, but ultimately recovery and transformation in health. So it's a lot of stuff. So now the summation. So reading B and D, which I didn't write down on here. So that's the ring and the tree for health commitment. Then the tree and the sun, good health. Then the sun and the child, small success. And then the child and the ring, I said a small cycle, but this could actually be a new circle or a new coming back around full circle. So the story with all of those together is a commitment to health results in success, bringing health back to where it started. So committing to health by going to the hospital when his symptoms first became evident resulted in his recovery, which brought him full circle back to the nursing home. So that's a lot of information. And of course, I know my story, so it was easy for me to pick this out. And if I was reading for somebody I didn't know, I might have to have asked more questions. So for example, if I went back up here, I would say, oh, I see health in the whip, and I see some kind of maybe an attack on health. And there's a man here. So who in your life has been suffering from repeated health issues? And then we would get into talking about that. And then we might look at, so tell me about a commitment that's being made repeatedly, and then that's turned out to be successful. And then the future I might talk about. So I'm still seeing some stress. It's diminishing. And then I'm seeing the lily, which, you know, translates into peace and tranquility. So I'm seeing that, right, this health or the stress diminishing, that things are getting better. One thing I didn't point out is this card right here is generally the overall outcome card. I always look at that almost first, because if it's something that's negative, I want to be able to be looking for threads that are related to that as I'm reading, so that I can tie it all up together at the end. So if I had pulled a focus card for this reading asking about my dad's health, I could immediately see that the card in that last spot was lilies, which would immediately give me a sense of peace and tranquility to the energy of the reading and the ultimate outcome. The card in this position generally represents the outcome. So how are you going to remember all of this? Because it's a lot. It's totally a lot. So my gift to you is this cheat sheet, and the link is below the video. So the way you get started on this, though, is practicing your spirit vocabulary. Number one, what 1 or 2 words do you give to each card? The second thing is learning to read the 2 card combinations. So it's all like baby steps. And then you take the 2 card combination, doing 2 of them in a row with 3 cards, and then you tell a story with those 3 cards, taking the two card combinations you made, put together to the story. And then you start melding all the stories together, and your intuition will totally strengthen, and you'll feel something that may not even be tied to your spirit vocabulary, and you'll ask a question. So tell me more about this, you know, strife or the stress or whatever, because your intuition will be telling you there's something more there. Alrighty, so what's next? So with the portrait and box spread, there's things called knighting and mirroring. So we will do a video on that. These 2 techniques come in very handy when you start doing the grand tableau. The grand tableau will be broken down into a bunch of videos because it's big. It's really big. So we'll look at, you know, bits and pieces. We'll baby step our way through it. In the meantime, if you have any questions, please drop me an email at sue@pied-piper-purpose. I won't analyze your reading, but if I can help if you're stuck or have a question about what to do, and I'm so proud of you for going through with this. Clarity. So my clarity is that I love to help people find their purpose. So that's why I call myself the Pied Piper of Purpose. I know it's kind of hokey, but finding your purpose, sharing your passion with others, which is what I'm doing with you, and then living your dream. Again, it's baby steps, and that's what I'm hoping to help you with. So let me know. Anyway, it's been great. So I will see you very soon.